Now, this one I lovingly call the temperamental teenager, and I'm not going to go through the whole process because it does take about 15 to 20 minutes to do a full one, and I don't want to take that much time. So I've done a few steps in advance. Basically, why I use Cinemagraph Pro is because it makes my life easier. People have told me often, well, you can do cinemagraphs and things in Photoshop, and you definitely can, and there are ways to do that quickly and efficiently, but I've just really grown to love this program, so I continue to use it. Anyway, so what we're going to do is I brought in a video clip, a 4K video clip that was maybe 10 seconds long, and you bring it into the program, and you do that. Let me just show you quickly. So if I were going to do a new one, let me save this, and I'll come back to it to show you how the program interface works. What you're going to do is drag your raw video, whatever that is, into the program. Try to keep it short, probably between 10 and 17 seconds at most. You definitely don't want to be bringing in anything that's really long, over a minute, because it takes a long time to render. And really, you're just going to be disposing of most of that anyway. So let me open up the video that I was just doing. And this is what I've been working on. So I have my daughter here. She was looking at me with the sort of the teenager death stare, and I decided to play into that. So she did ask for me to edit her a little bit because there's some teenager stuff going on here on her face, which isn't just teenager stuff. Me at 43, I still struggle with that as well. So we're in the same boat together. But she wanted that edited. She didn't want that as part of the Cinemagraph, so I'm going to show you how I fix it. Now what I've done is I picked a still. There's this little purple icon here, and this basically grabs one frame, and that frame is the one that sits on top of the video, and then you mask through that to the video underneath. I've reduced the amount of video that I'm working with by moving in the little trimming sliders here. And what I was looking for was having her eyes open and then closing and opening again. So it starts open and then quickly closes and then opens again. How I did this was to mask by using the brush tool off of her eye area, just like that. Now you want to keep the video short, and I used a feathered brush to just go in and erase the mask from that still to reveal the video underneath, which shows her eyes doing this little thing. Now what I'm going to do is hit a delay of about 2.5 seconds or so, because I want people to look at the picture and think that her eyes are staring at them and all of a sudden have them closed. That's an important part of this delay. I'm going to repeat, so it's just repeating. Bounce goes back and forth. Sometimes one works better than the others. Try both. And then avoiding crossfade. Crossfade is great for some applications, especially if you're doing things like having water flowing and you want it to seem like it's completely cyclical without any start or stop. Crossfade really helps. Not so helpful in this situation. And then what we want to do is edit the overlay image and bring it back to make things look good. Now the key to success here is to keep the editing off of the areas that are masked through, because anything that we do to this individual still is not going to show when we bring it back in, because there's going to be a big hole in it where her eyes are. So in this area here, we want to avoid editing the picture in those areas to avoid having it look like she has a mask, these two little eyes cut out. That will make more sense in a second. So I'm going to take off the mask, go here to the still, and this again is this little still grab from here. I'm going to export this still, and I've done several of these today. I've had technical difficulties, so I'm going to just make this image still image 4, PNG, export it, open up Photoshop, and import that image that I just exported. Then what we're going to do is edit this image. Now, it doesn't matter what position her eyes are in, because ultimately it's going to be masked through in the program. But I want to remove some of these blemishes that make her uncomfortable. So I'm going to go Command J to create another layer, and then I'm going to flatten this actually, because what that does is creates a background layer. Actions don't like to run on layers that don't have the word background next to them, so this gets me to that point. And then I'm going to Command J again, use my little healing tool here, healing brush tool, zoom in, and I'm going to get rid of some of the blemishes and things that she might not want to have show. Make my brush smaller. And then we'll do a little bit of skin smoothing, being careful not to smooth around the eye area. So we want to use a very light touch, but she did not want any of this in there. So we're going to be kind and avoid that. I would want her to do that to me, because some days it's like I'm a teenager yet in this department. All right. Then after doing that, I'm going to just run a skin smoothing action. We're just going to do Classic Smoother. I'm not even sure who it's from, but I'm going to run that on here to just soften things a little bit. So increase the brush size, lower the opacity to maybe 30%. Not really a lot, but just sort of smooth the areas that are not moving. So I'm going to do her nose, where she has a little sun damage, and maybe down here, and there's some digital noise in this area that's kind of bothersome, like that. And that's pretty much it. Now I'll do a little bit of color grading over in the other program, but there's a couple things more I want to remove here. So I'm going to go up to Layer, Flatten, because I don't need to do much more there, and I'm going to zoom in. And I've done this a few times and it's been okay, so I don't think I'm going to make it another layer. I'm going to go into the clone tool, grab this, and just get rid of these little red spice containers. They are just a little bit too vibrant back there, drawing attention to themselves. Now, whatever I do from this point forward, I have to keep in mind that her eyes are going to be masked out. So let me think. I'm going to just go in here, and there are a lot of different foundational things. I have lots of different workflow things. I don't know if any of these are good or not. I haven't really used them a lot, but there is one that I've used a lot in the past called Emotional Color Base from Greater Than Gatsby. I think it's their Illuminations or something like that. I don't know. Go check out Greater Than Gatsby. They have neat products. And I'm going to run this action just to kind of show you how I would do that. Now you notice it shifted the color. When I take it on and off, it does shift the color, and that will show over there. So I definitely need to mask that off of her face. So I'm going to grab a black brush, hit the X key, and I'm going to remove it from her face here because it will show. Now I like what it's done to her face, but I know it's going to look bizarre if I don't mask it off a little bit. Okay. And it's lagging a little bit because I'm doing the screen capture, so we're just going to let that be. It has to catch up a little bit. Oops. It is really... It's very much lagging because of the program. So now what I'm going to do is put a little graduated filter. This is something that you either love it or hate it. And the reason I'm doing it is because it helps to mask some of the busyness over here. So I'm going to do a radial filter, double click on this, grab it to make a different color. I'm going to make kind of a sunny yellow. Oops, not green. Hit OK. I'm going to increase the size of it. Move it over a little bit. Increase the size. This is the futzy part. It does take a long time to do what I do, but the light source is coming from this direction. Hit OK and then lower opacity. You can always continue to play with it. Some people, I am conflicted. I like to direct the eye, and this is an effective way to do that. It helps make stuff that's on the side not quite as visible. Anyway, so we're going to leave this at that and save this out as a JPEG. And I'm just going to save that as a JPEG. And then when we come back to this program, I can import that back in. Oops, I got to save it. And I can grab that image that I just did. And it puts it on top of the image that, or the original video. Now I am going to actually be cropping this into a square for social media, so this whole bit over here isn't really going to matter unless I use it for another process or a different place. And I'm seeing some other things I could have cloned out back there as well, but I won't bore you with that. So that is how it works. And then I just export it, and they have these handy little defaults that go for different uses, say Instagram. They loop it 3 times, so it's 11 seconds long. They dial in the parameters that you need, and then you export it, and then it's there. And I have one in here that I've done. Let me see here. This is the one that I did that I'm going to share on Instagram. And it looks like she's just staring at you, and then she blinks. Very irritatedly at me. Anyway, that will loop. And so that's how I did it. Thank you very much.